All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started, and whoever jumps on as we go along, they can be filled in as we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the GSA series on storage in a virtual world. Well, and we're kind of going through various areas of cloud computing and the components that are there. Today we have with us Ken Cheslik. He's the Executive Business Manager for Dynamic Computer Corporation. Say hey, Ken.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are things out in Michigan these days?
Cold but sunny.
Cold but sunny. Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier, that somewhere along the line we need to have a conversation with Mother Nature about what spring means.
Yes.
Being here in Maryland as well, it's kind of crazy. So, but we'll be reaching out to Ken. I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the Director of Government Solutions, and I know a lot of the folks that are popping in online, and it's great to see everyone, and certainly look forward to talking with folks and how things work. Just a real high-level overview of Dynamic Computer Corporation. We were founded in 1979. We offer a lot of IT type of solutions to for folks. We get started often. Well, we got started in equipment originally, and one of the things that's most important for everybody to know is that we're vendor agnostic. We don't really care what solutions are necessary. We just want to help you find the best solutions. We are the go-to resource for oddball components and weirdware, and that's often how we get started. A lot of you folks out there know of us for this, and we have become virtualization experts, and we'd love to be able to help whatever agencies are out there that need help in the virtualization space. What you'll find is that most of our clients, 98%, we have repeat business, and that includes our federal clients as well. So we certainly are very happy to be of service in any way that we can. The objective of this webinar really is to assist procurement in understanding the scope and components of virtualization. And today specifically we're going to be dealing with storage solutions. We want to dialogue on the best practices that are in line with the initiatives. We're actually going to talk about some of those initiatives as well. We'll tell you what to look for as these things are coming down on the heads of procurement folks, and make sure you understand what you're looking at. We'll give you some of the pros and cons and really help you keep yourself and your agency out of hot water in dealing with some of these new initiatives that are out there. We'll review our vehicle options with our GSA schedule, and we'll also give you the links to the resources that we're looking at within this webinar. Real quick, on the right-hand side of your control panel, you will see that you can unmute yourself essentially with your audio pin. We'll give you the ability to dialogue, and we'll be able to talk. You can chat your questions in at the bottom of that as well, so feel free to let us know what you would like us to talk about. And also, if you have any questions, we can unmute you. If you have a microphone, we can do that. So this is what you asked for. This would be the best briefing ever if it was brief, number one. So yes, we're going to be very succinct, to the point, not too technical. Absolutely, this is one of the things, and this kind of ties into the next one, with where the information relates to real-world examples that you can understand, because we're not expecting everyone to become super technical on this, but we want you to know how these things are affecting your world and what you're seeing. Some of the things that the folks said they need help with is understanding what security measures are necessary for virtual storage needs, but we'll get to that as well. Some regulations, and other folks wanted some sample specs and scopes, and we can certainly supply those as well. Need to know a little bit more about what you're doing, but we can absolutely help you with that as well. Real quick, the reason this whole thing is happening is because we have the Cloud First initiative. This is part of Executive Order 13514. Many of you know this, other folks don't. We'll get you a link to that. It was announced in 2010, and it kind of gives an overview of what the federal government is doing for cloud and virtualization. There's a real drive to this, and in fact, it's coming to conclusion through FedRAMP, which was released as part of the shared strategy in 2012. That was released last February, as a matter of fact. FedRAMP came, they announced that, and they're offering the folks that are being pre-approved to be able to provide cloud services and the security components that are required for setting that up. That's all governed by FedRAMP. It's a GSA program. And it includes your mobility, which is also bring your own device. That's a hot topic right now in many areas within the federal government. We're going to be using terms that you'll hear with PaaS and IaaS and SaaS. These are all things that are cloud terms. We'll talk about that a little bit. Platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, that's what those stand for. It's all about sharing resources and combining that, the government's ability to combine those for cost savings. And also, real important to everybody in procurement is these can impact your initiatives for your green initiatives as well. So anything that you're doing, make sure that you're putting this towards your green credits. There's a lot of initiatives within different agencies for green initiatives, and the leads, this all funnels into that. So make sure you're getting the credit where it's due. Another component of this is the Federal Data Center Consolidation Initiative, is FDCCI. It's to increase the virtualization of distributed systems, and it's really driving this whole cloud-based infrastructure to improve the efficiency of the data centers, both the ones that are being virtualized and also the ones that are remaining. Because if you're siphoning off some of the components and putting them in the cloud, it makes the other data center components that can't be cloud-based, because some of these are not going to be able to be put up in the cloud because of either security reasons or whatever it happens to be. It could be mainframe-oriented systems or legacy systems. These are the things that will be remaining in your data centers as they apply, but it increases the efficiency there so that the folks that are managing those don't have to pay attention to the other things. And the OPM has really put out some very, very aggressive goals for virtualization here in the near future. Near future being your 5-year goals. Look at these here. To reduce the total data center floor space by 40%, improve the power usage by 20%, decrease IT energy by 60%, and the number of physical servers in OPM data centers by 80%. These are very, very aggressive goals throughout that are being driven throughout multiple agencies now, and this is affecting a lot of the agencies that are present today on this call. So, real quick, what virtualization is and the benefits of those, and we'll give you some examples of that so that you can get a high-level view of how these things are working. Virtualization is where you can use any technology or device, in essence, to look at is if it was a local machine. Each device is self-contained and is protected from other virtual machines. Even though they're residing on the same place, they appear as real devices, as if it was your own desktop, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And all these can be done and accessed mobily. These can be done with hardware. You can virtualize all these pieces: hardware, desktop, your software, your memory, your data, your network, and today we're going to be talking about the storage. All these pieces can be virtualized. And here's a classic example. Let's say you're sitting at your office and you have your PC, it's up and running, and all of a sudden something happens and it's gone. Well, virtualization gives you the ability where you're not dependent on your individual PC. It's actually functioning someplace else. And everybody's familiar with Microsoft Office and some of the components, but also your individual components that you're using for agency-specific type of your environment can all be virtualized. And these are the pieces that you see. Now, most folks are, like I said, are used to Microsoft Office. And here you have an example where the PC goes down. You still need access to this because you have some mission-critical work that you have to do. And you may even be working from home. Let's say you're sick or something. There's a lot of work from home initiatives. This gives you the ability to see everything as if it was right there on your own machine, and as if you're working from your own machine. It doesn't matter what machine it is. And this includes your storage, your ability to save things, to access things for your files, all your files and storage components, and any type of file in storage. And it, like we said before, it looks and acts like your PC. It's safe and secure because it's just you accessing your stuff, and it gives you access to remote storage, as we mentioned. The whole objective here is to reduce the physical footprint, and this is what virtualization does. It consolidates your physical devices, and it enables you to consolidate resources, and because it's centrally managed, that's not necessarily on your site, that means that you can gain efficiencies in staffing and in all aspects of managing your IT solutions if it's in a cloud environment. It saves power, and it also saves money, both in staffing as well as any of the costs that are associated with running a network on site. And guess what? It works with any approved device, and that could be tablets, it could be smartphones, it can be laptops, it could be desktops, any of these that you can access your virtual environment with. Some of the cloud computing examples for your benefit, so that you know you're probably using some of these already. Amazon.com, you have the ability to order things and sell things. It's a virtual environment. You have the ability to do your online banking or get to iTunes. All these are a cloud or virtual type environment. You don't have to have things that are stored on your device. And in fact, if you're doing online banking, all that's held off-site in a secure location controlled by the bank. Same kind of situation here. All you need is connectivity. You don't have to update anything. You don't have to update your software or any of those pieces, and it supports any supported device or any approved device that you can use, and you can be in control. Like for us as consumers, we have access with our iPhones or iPads, and we choose what we're going to have access to. Now we're going to get into the virtual storage. This is a component of your cloud computing or virtualization infrastructure, and these are the pieces that we're looking at. Kind of give you an idea of what's coming down the pipe and what's happening here. Ken, I'm going to turn this over to you to talk about the types of virtualization that we have here. Can you give us the difference between the types of storage that's out there and what the differences are, so that our folks know kind of how these operate?
Certainly. If you take a look at the slide, the first bullet point being block storage, that is basically how all information is stored on a device, whether it be physical or virtual. And what block storage systems allow you to do is spread the information for a file over a wide variety of physical drives. So what that means is on your PC, if you're used to going to your C drive and storing a file, all those blocks are on contiguous locations on the physical drive itself. And with storage virtualization for block storage, what we can do is we can send those blocks to multiple devices and then keep track of where they are by using a metadata table that basically tells the storage system where to put everything. So when you inquire let's say you want to save a file, all you do is you hit your button and you think it's being saved, and the storage system actually goes out and puts those pieces of information somewhere out on the virtual storage network. Then when you go to retrieve that file, the same thing happens in reverse. You ask to retrieve the file, and the metadata goes back and collects it all, knows where it stored it and where it was addressed, and recompiles the file and presents it to you.
So it's
What
just
this
like,
allows for. Go ahead.
so it's just like it would on your machine, it would do it in a virtual environment as well, right?
Well, it does, but it's not relying on doing it on contiguous spots on the disk. Because it's only storing the block of information, a file may be composed of thousands of blocks of information depending on the size of it. And it doesn't need to be from, like in the 0 can be on one physical disk, 19 could be on another physical disk, but it's all one file in the eyes of virtual storage.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
And so it allows for flexibility in maximizing the actual physical space that you have. File storage is basically what you're used to every single day. It will actually store a file. It could store it on multiple disks, but it stores it together. So it stores all the blocks together. So you may save a document that gets saved on virtual disk A, physical disk A, and a spreadsheet that gets stored on physical disk B, but they all get stored together. And then object storage is more for virtual machine type. These are files that can be, or objects, I'll say, that can be moved very quickly and efficiently as resources are taken down or spun up.
Super. So, it doesn't really matter what the file is. It's, you know, all the files and the type of storage that we'd use in any given day. It can, each one of those can be virtualized just as easily, right?
Yes, they can, and it really depends on the end user needs, how much data you're moving, how often you're changing it, how often you're retrieving it, what your backup policies are. All of those things lend themselves to a particular type of storage strategy.
All right. So tell us why are folks moving towards virtual storage? There's a couple of pieces here. We're going to dive into each one of these: replication, pooling, disk management, and the benefits of that. Why are folks moving towards a virtual storage environment?
Well, if you look at the past, we were always limited by the physical capacity of a box, whether it be compute power, storage power, and anytime we would reach that limit, we would have to get an incremental piece of whatever we ran out of. Virtualization allows us to be flexible. It allows us to utilize 100% of every piece of hardware that we have in a virtual environment. Typically, hardware is utilized anywhere between 1/3 and 1/2 of its capacity. And then for the next application, whatever's left over is not big enough, so we end up, if we need maybe a 60% capacity, buying more hardware. So what virtualization allows us to do is to fully utilize the hardware that we have in place.
And that's really what gives us our meeting the objectives of some of the initiatives that are being driven down for that. And one of the components of that is replication. And what does this mean as far as replication and being able to do this any place so that you have data recovery from a disaster type of situation? How does that work?
Well, data is such a critical part of everyday business today, no matter what field of endeavor we're in. And to be able to reassemble data in the event of a hardware failure, or let's say something as simple as your internet service provider goes down and you need to go to another site to continue your business, being able to have the data replicated on multiple sites and easily accessible is critical in today's environment.
And the beauty, one of the beauties of virtualization is you can set up areas for multiple places where this can be stored, right?
Correct.
And quickly brought back up to speed, so that any time you're dealing with mission critical components within an agency, that's one of the biggest things, is making sure that they can bring the systems back up as quickly as possible.
Correct. And Dave, one of the best practice strategies, for instance, you would never, well, I wouldn't say never, but most people don't think about the power grid going down or not having power to run your business. If your storage, or if your data center, if you will, would happen to go down, a lot of people will actually replicate on separate power grids, or cross vast geographic areas. And what that does for you is it eliminates the risk of simultaneous failures and decreases your downtime.
That's really the name of the game, is making sure that any of the mission critical components can be brought back up to speed. Tell us about pooling. What does pooling mean, and what's the benefit of that?
Well, again, because we tend to have excess capacity in some areas and we're over capacity in other areas, by pooling those resources, we can migrate based on our storage needs at that point in time. So, let's say we have a 30% drive, a terabyte drive that's only 30% utilized, and our mission critical server data is getting to its physical limit on its drive. By pooling, we're able to utilize the 70% capacity on our terabyte drive to keep our mission critical stuff moving. We don't run out of physical space.
And that's critical. I know we've all had issues in the past, and maybe now with all the multimedia things for us personally, we wind up running out of drive space on our laptops or our phones, or at whatever it happens to be. We just run out of space. And the beautiful thing about pooling is that we never run out of space, because we have it in a virtual environment that we can add additional space as well. And that gets us to the disk management, which makes it easy for provisioning, and also the flexibility to add or remove storage based on the individual requirements, right? Isn't that how that works?
Correct. In the past, we would have to actually sit down and map out different parts of a mass storage drive for different pieces of data. Stuff that we need for highly available, things that we need to access very quickly, things that actually could take some time and work in the background. That all had to be mapped out by a person, and then it would have to be tested and troubleshot. Today's systems allow that provisioning to happen automatically, simply by telling a system that this is data that needs to be highly available, or we need very quick access to it. The software can actually manage the locations on the storage system to give you the performance that's necessary.
And that is really, the ease of use is one piece, and then the rest of it is the technical aspect of being able to access it from and expand it as needed. And as you mentioned, that is one of the most critical components. Now, tell us about NAS, SANs, and it's iSCSI, right? Is that how you say that?
Yes, it is. Network attached storage has been around for a long time, and
is that our typical storage? Is that what we normally see in an environment that we would have like if we have a floor of an office, our office complex? Would that be what we would normally see?
Yes, and no.
Okay.
What we would normally see would be actual physical devices doing the storage on themselves.
Okay.
What NAS does is it takes us one step away from that to give us some type of a modular storage solution. And the issue with the NAS drive, you can daisy chain them, but you can't virtualize them. So everything gets stored on a NAS. Then when that NAS fills, the next NAS, or you physically locate it on a file level with each physical instance of your NAS.
Okay.
SAN takes you one step further in evolution by allowing you to spread that same information across multiple physical drives, and then keeping track of where it's been assigned, so when it comes time to retrieve the information, it's basically seamless to the user. And iSCSI has been around for a long time, and because it's IP-based, we're kind of limited to having to manage all the connectivity for the network in order to access the storage. So it becomes a two-step process where the SAN and even a NAS will be, well, a NAS will have an independent IP address, but a SAN will just be out on the network you would access with for your use, one IP address, and then get to wherever you're allowed to go. iSCSI is more of a dedicated, it's network based, but it's more of a dedicated storage solution. Not quite as flexible as the other two, but it was a leapfrog in allowing you to add some storage to your physical box.
Awesome. So those are that's kind of the evolution. Some of the things that we see nowadays in virtual and cloud storage on a consumer level anyway, is that we have Dropbox. I think that's probably the most well known of the consumer type storage devices in cloud examples. Obviously iCloud with our Apple products, being able to save things on the cloud, not having to have our songs or our pictures or our videos or whatever we do with our phone resident on our phone, and maximizing that memory. We can just put it up in the cloud. And SkyDrive that's the new one from that's provided by Microsoft, right? That's the one that comes resident on Windows 8. Is that right?
Correct.
So these are the types of things that you see. Yeah, these are the types of things that you see every day. These are everyday examples of what you do. And the biggest thing is all you need is connectivity. Again, you don't have to update, and it supports any device that you allow access to it. And it's just because it's out in the cloud doesn't mean everybody can see it. It means that you can get to it individually with the appropriate access controls. Now, when we get to the industrial strength versions of these, we see some of the big players like IBM and Dell and HP and NetApp and EMC Squared. All these folks are solutions providers for these types of services when it comes to storage. And one thing that we want you to remember very specifically is DCC, Dynamic Computer Corporation, is vendor agnostic. We don't care which ones which ones to use. What we want are the ones that are best for your organization to help you meet the initiatives and the objectives that you're required to meet. And they're not all apples to apples. So the biggest thing is that we can do to help is to help you determine which is the best application for you. And maybe it's combining multiple vendors, in fact, and different types of scenarios that fit into those. So just remember that we're vendor agnostic. Our job is to help you determine those. Now, some of the pros and cons that we're dealing with here, and just being straight out with everybody so that you know, is there's a whole lot of good things that are happening with virtualization and cloud and pushing that way, and it all revolves around improving the utilization of what it is that you're paying for, and being able to reduce your existing footprint. And so we have improved capacity utilization, obviously. That reduces your server sprawl, which is the tendency to keep adding these storage devices. And like Ken said, anywhere from a third to a half usage. So you're losing at least half of the usage of that if you're doing the sprawling type of environment. You can automate the capacity and the expansion. This goes to the flexibility these next points of being able to provision it quickly and to provide for backup solutions. And this goes to faster data migrations. Let's say something went wrong and you have something that you have to recover because data was lost on a particular server. Boom, you can get these pieces back up and running quickly. It's much simpler than your physical storage, and improving your performance and efficiency, the redundancy that's available, and using devices that would normally be at the end of their life cycle, old PCs and the components. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have a terabyte hard drive resident on your on your box anymore, your physical box, which ultimately reduces the cost, which is why these initiatives are being placed in effect as we see them. And some of the cons that you have here is you are dependent on your vendors for the support and all the components that are used for your virtualization. And that's why it's very important to understand what the interface looks like. There's the potential for more single points of failure, and then you have interoperability challenges where you have multiple vendors that you're assembling and working together. So those are the things that to watch out for. And one of the biggest things that we hear out in the security world sometimes is, where is my data really? Where is it being held? Is it in a secure environment? How can we make sure that that information is secure? Nobody's getting to it, and nobody has access to our data that they shouldn't have access to. And these are the types of things that you want to watch out for to make sure that your agency is protected. To help keep you out of hot water, this is just anytime you're dealing with access from virtually anywhere in the world, we don't want to rush into anything. We want to make sure that we're following the FedRAMP guidelines for virtualization and the cloud setup. There's controls that are in there that if you simply follow those, the baseline of those, you'll be much better off. Verify your vendor claims. Make sure that that everything that they're saying is actually being delivered, and that includes your SLAs, your service level agreements. Make sure that they're in place, that they have teeth. Engage your security team early so that they're reviewing exactly how things are being provisioned, and we can certainly help with that as well. And budget for additional testing if necessary. A lot of times this is a component that when you get to the end of it, you don't want to get to the end of your solution and your implementation and find out, hey, we have some holes here that we didn't expect, that provides for us to not have secure data, and that puts your agency at risk. So protect your data, protect your agency, and make sure that you're looking out for these things on the front end so that you don't get yourself in trouble. Ultimately, this is so that you can standardize, to simplify your environment, automate these components like Ken said. Automatically, you can add these pieces, whether it's your infrastructure and your storage, all the way through the ability to add your any components of your virtual environment, because it is scalable and it meets to meet those agency objectives, especially when it comes to cloud first and some of your green initiatives there. Real quick, how you can procure our services. We have a lot of professional services that are available through our GSA contract, and you can look us up for our contract. Our cage number's right here in our DUNS. We are a small business, so we can help you meet your small business initiatives. And if you need additional partners, we have partners for 8A and service disabled. If those are the types of things that you need, we can always create that for you. But from us, for right now today, you can go order from us utilizing our GSA schedule. Some of the benefits from us, again, the biggest is that we are vendor agnostic. We're not looking to press any particular vendor on your organization. We want to make sure that your solution is structured for exactly what you need, and this includes maximizing your cost, your time, your resource allocation, all those components that will make you more efficient as an agency. And again, getting back to what makes us different, making sure that we're looking out for you and getting down to right down to the improved peace of mind there. And I'm going to talk about quality for a minute, because everybody talks about how great they are and how much quality they have. I mean, McDonald's does it, everybody does it, right? So here's what our key differentiator in the marketplace. We are ISO certified. And we highly recommend that you look for ISO certified companies, because these are companies that have gone through the process, and it is not an easy process to go through to make sure that our quality controls and our standards are at the highest possible level, and we have ways to be able to improve our quality on and on as we go through. And this is a big help for us as we're dealing with different agency functions, and many agencies are looking for ISO certified companies now, because it shows that there's a high emphasis on quality. So we recommend that you do that as well. All right, we're at the question stage here. We're trying to stay on track. We're we're down to the last few minutes and want to stay in that brief part of briefing. And some of the questions that we have here are, let's see, will this presentation be available? Yes, we will make this presentation available, and it will be both electronic in a PowerPoint as well as a video as well. Ken, here's one for you. What do you see are the biggest problems with virtualization?
Well, the biggest problem is typically getting started. There are many offerings, and there are many concerns. Mostly because we're so used to having physical data on our site under lock and key, where we always know it is. The thought of sometimes letting go of that is frightening. The good news is, just like in a crowd of people, you have hundreds of people walking around with all that knowledge in their head. And if you're watching all these people moving around, you have no idea what they're thinking and what they know. That's the virtual storage world. Until somebody actually addresses a person individually and that person decides to deem that question worthy, they don't exchange any information. And that's kind of how virtual storage is built. It's all in a big crowd. But it's all isolated until the proper question's asked and the proper authority level is granted, and then the information is forthcoming. So, getting started is the biggest issue.
Okay,
Yes.
well, we can certainly help with at least the groundwork for that. And one of the questions is, do you have sample SOWs for cloud-based storage? Yes, we can get those. What I would recommend, and we'll give you some email addresses that you can contact us with, where we can talk about specifically what you're trying to accomplish and what that looks like, so that we can give you kind of an overview of what that should look like in best practice land. So we can certainly do that. Here's another question. What are the costs associated with this? With budgets, we got sequestration, we got all kind of stuff happening out there right now that with budget cuts and components that there are all kind of issues that are happening. So tell us about the costs that are associated with this.
If that's to me, Dave, what I'd like to say is the cost of implementing a virtual storage strategy is almost always less than the cost of losing all of your data and trying to recover it and piece it back together.
That's a fact.
Yes, it is. And depending on the availability, the number of users, simultaneous users, the bandwidth necessary to upload and download, the cost associated with virtual storage really is dynamic to your environment.
And but most, like you said, the whole reason why everybody's going to this and why the initiatives are there is because ultimately the costs are they're going to be driving down those costs for every component almost. And that's what's amazing about it. Those are questions I have so far. If you have a question, please put it in either the chat or the questions down on the right side, or you can raise your hand, and then we will get to you if you have any questions that you would like us to answer. And other than that, we just wish you a happy cloud storage environment. So we would love to be able to help you if you'd like some assistance in that. We'd be glad to be able to help you with that. Here's our contact information. And this includes Farida, who's the CEO of the company, and this is Ken, who's been on this call, as well as my information directly, and the general information for Dynamic Computer Corporation. And we will be supplying you with links and more information, specifically Executive Order 13541 and the OPM plan. And this is pretty good reading, actually. If you're in the IT environment, the CIO strategic plan, which is coming to fruition as we speak from 2010 to 2013, as well as the FedRAMP supporting information, how you can gain information on virtualization. So if there aren't any more, let me check one more time and see if we have any more questions here. One second. It looks like we've answered most of these. Let me just make sure we have, let's see, what types of storage requirements are you seeing? We see, I'll take this first if you want, Ken, and I'll say we see all types of storage requirements, and they can be associated with a small agency environment all the way up to enterprise-wide or all across an agency for being able to access specific areas and specific tools even that are required. Do you see anything in particular that is kind of on the hot button today, or is it all over the map, Ken?
Well, I think a lot of the buzz is around replication and high availability, disaster recovery. That has the most immediate impact. That's what you'll notice first. When your data is gone, it's too late to be thinking about replication or, I should have kind of thinking.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, ain't no goulda, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think most people have a replication strategy or thoughts or formulating a strategy, and most of the activity seems to be around that, and it's a learning curve. So as that strategy starts to show its worth, I think people will continue to figure out that being able to replicate storage on two sides of the globe and have one part of your organization working on an exact replicate of the other side brings other efficiencies. And again, it's an evolution. So
that's right.
So
and
we're
the beauty
seeing it for disaster recovery and replication.
And the beauty of when you get in a virtual environment, the replication and the evolution, as you said, is not dependent on physical hardware in your facility. It's done remotely. It can be upgraded remotely, and all the components that are necessary for your security requirements, everything, all those pieces can be effectively managed in a way that just can't be managed if it's all over the place with different organizations and agencies, sub-agencies, and things like that. So I think that's why the biggest thing is driving into those initiatives. And we are pretty much out of time. We're over by just a couple minutes, and I want to be very respectful of everybody's time. We will send out an update, which includes all the links that are associated with this particular presentation, as well as the presentation itself. And we just thank you very much. Ken, thanks for spending the time with us and making sure that we got some good technical information there. And we'll make sure everybody gets this. But everybody have a fantastic day, and we look forward to working with you if you think the time is right to utilize Dynamic Computer Corporation. We appreciate you joining us. Thanks much.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Thank you all.